Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pop. This video tutorial in Ubuntu Basics shows you how you can use the editor in Calibre to put in a command called @media, which is a conditional command in the cascading style sheets. I have a viewer showing with a picture in it, and it is in landscape mode. And I am going to progressively make it smaller and show you what it would look like on a telephone, which is in portrait mode. As you can see, the picture gets too small to be usable. When it's in landscape like this, it's fine, but in portrait you can't see the picture. And I will show you how, when in portrait mode, you can make the picture look larger. You may be familiar with conditional commands from a spreadsheet. You can use an if statement. Here I've got a very simple one. It's money in the bank. If you've got a negative figure, it shows overdrawn up here. But if you put in a positive figure, it shows money in the bank. And the way it does this is with a little thing here that says if B2 is less than 1, put in the word overdrawn. Otherwise, put in money in the bank. Well, you can actually nest these things also so that they get very complicated, and you can have grades. If B1 is less than 60, the guy gets an F. If it's less than 70, he gets a D. If less than 80, he gets a C, and so on. This is the same concept as @media. I have opened up the style sheet so that we can take a look at @media, and here is the condition. The condition is if the orientation is portrait, do the following things. If the orientation is landscape, do not do these following things. Just do the other things that are in the cascading style sheet. Now I put this @media at the very end of the style sheet because although normally in alphabetical order the @ would go at the beginning, instead the @media needs to be at the end, and that is because the order in which things appear in the cascading style sheet is very important, and this is the last thing I want to touch. So always put your @media at the end. First things first, I've got the indicator here, background color turns pink. Well, I can just put I can just ignore that by just putting a space in there. It won't turn pink if I put in a space. That was just something to show me when it hits 1:1 ratio of top to bottom. It's an exact square. When it turns exact square, it turns pink. Once it begins turning portrait, everything will remain pink. Now, my pictures are graphics. They begin with .g. My frames are beginning with F. So if a picture is a quarter width, a frame is a quarter width, a frame is a quarter width to the right, it's no longer a quarter width. Now it's going to be a half width. If the frame is very narrow, 10%, or if the picture is 10%, I've got some long skinny pictures, change them to 25%. But here's the one we're going to be dealing with. If the picture is half width, it's going to now go 100%. Well, you've got to count the ins and outs here. So here we've got an open, and a second open, a third open, a fourth open, and then you've got an exact same number of close. So I'm now going to go over and we will take a look at it, and I'll show you the effect of this. Here is an example of a picture that does not have a frame around it, and the picture is half width. It's a graphic with an H, and I defined that in my cascading style sheet as half width. Well, if I make it go narrower, the picture gets smaller and you are unable to see it well, and on a telephone you wouldn't see it at all, but now it jumps to 100% of the width of the telephone screen. and everything in here is going to be like that. If I go from image to image to image, everything in here will change. This is a quarter screen frame with 100% picture inside of it, and you see if I make it smaller like that, that's what happens. And I have all of the things in here like that. Here we are looking at the editor viewer. This is the file preview. This is not the viewer of Calibre. Calibre's viewer is currently, I guess you would call it, broken, or they're in the process of changing it so that it will do this. It will not currently do this. In other words, you won't see the result properly in the regular viewer of Calibre. But I've got right now the editor viewer open, and as you can see, this is about 1/4 of the entire width of the screen. Now remember, as we got smaller and smaller, the picture got smaller and smaller, but now it's going to quit being 1/4 and it jumps up. As soon as I hit the magic number of 1:1, the difference between portrait and landscape, it jumps. And on a telephone, you would still be able to see the picture. The picture is 100% of the frame. The frame jumps from 25% of the width of the screen to 50% of the width of the screen. And everything in the entire EPUB is altered. My name is Pup, and I thank you very much. Here is another postscript. I wanted to point out something else. This is an either-or situation. It is either portrait or it is landscape. But you can have nested. If this occurs, then do that. Otherwise, if that occurs, then do this. Or if something else occurs, do the following. And you can nest these things ad infinitum. And I have a demonstration of that. There is a snippet I have, which I will pop up right now. And this snippet is right here. It says at media portrait. That's the one I've got in there. I want to demonstrate this one, which is at media aspect. So let me pop it open. It's at media aspect and then Control J. And I'm going to put it in my cascading style sheet right here. At media aspect, Control J. And this one is a different set of rules. It says if the minimum aspect ratio is 16:24, then the whole screen turns orange. 16:23 yellow, 16:22 red, 21 orange, and I just keep going with the different colors as the aspect ratio changes. And I just made these up there in no particular order, and this has no real purpose. But I want to show you how this works as you change the size of the screen, and you may think of something that's useful to do with these cascading things. First of all, I'm going to go up to the other one, and I'm going to temporarily close it down. Now I've got everything cooking. Let me go over to the editor, and here it's red, green, blue, red. It just keeps changing colors. Just sort of a postscript on that. My name is Pop. Thank you very much.